So right now, Cristi, to be honest, I met him once when I was in Cluj for a Rev Rally, and he was at the Cluj Hub where we were hosting some event for Revolut. And then I knew that he was a smart guy just because he talks really nicely with us. But also, I found out that he's a venture capitalist and also a co-founder for a Techcelerator, which for me is kind of really a really impressive combination of two things because it's also about growing businesses, but also about growing communities. So, with no further ado, welcome Cristi to this awesome fireside chat.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation and thank you for the presentation, Ștefan.
Yeah, cool.
I really think communities are very important in order to have to bring value into the economy. So in terms of the startups, definitely Eastern Europe, it's in a big need of communities. So I think together with How to Web, from more than 5 years, growing communities was very important in Romania, and still it is, especially in these times.
Yeah, very true, very true. Now, I propose to go straight to the subject, which is, well, startups. We have like almost 12 minutes left or something like this. I didn't exactly count. And today is about early stage startups. And as we saw, they have really big objectives. And I think your input, Cristi, with all your experience is going to be really valuable. So I just want to start with a pretty small and basic question, but can have so many answers and very different answers on focusing on exactly this stage of these startups, which are the biggest challenges that you see and that you have seen in your experience so far.
I would refer to a conversation which we just had a few days ago with the company which we accepted into the accelerator, into the first batch. And it's very important for companies to in this stage, at the MVP stage and having initial signs of traction, to focus on that traction, to extend it, to make sure what to streamline, to learn. So it's that phase of product market fit, kind of, which comes before the growth phase. And I would advise them not to rush the growth part. Definitely, as an investor, you want companies to grow as fast as possible, but at this phase it's very, very important to set up a good foundation and to squeeze out of the market those that's kind of sometimes referred as a secret sauce which your startup has, and to squeeze those unfair advantages which will help them expand very well the next money, focus their energy, and come with strong results. Kind of like the early stage startups are very different than later stage startups. So I think you could really have a full streamline of, or a full set of strategies or tactics with each one of them, and they'll be very much different. And at this stage of the early stage part, it would be this, to dig and to put through a very fine grinder the information which they get, because it's almost like gold. Even if it's pieces of sand, it can be gold.
Yeah, I'm curious because you said that you will need to build a strong foundation, and I completely agree with this. If you have like a really shady foundation, everything can crumble in just a few mistakes that you may do along your journey. But I'm curious, how can you balance trying to build your really strong foundation and also building the actual product and getting it to the market?
With this foundation, I'm referring more into the how to set up a good understanding of the client and to and of the need which it's needed to bring into the market. So not to have a perfect brand, not to have a perfect pitch, but to have the perfect understanding of the need, and then next to have a perfect or as good as possible understanding of the client niches, and maybe it's you could refer it also as to zoom in, zoom out very fast. So kind of to have the mindset that you should understand the client, you should understand the need, and not necessarily doing that, but being into the continuous search of that and being very well positioned as a mindset towards that. Because with this strategy or with this mindset, you could get to the new features of your product by always looking what can I bring extra to the client and what's the perfect setup for my business to do that. So to do it with a good price point, to do it with a good effort or a good balance of effort.
Yeah.
And sometimes this or many times these things cannot be really hacked. So you could say that I can jump 10 stairs up. Maybe it's a good strategy to take it step by step, but learn how to run through the stairs, to go as fast as possible, not to jump the steps.
Okay. So we kind of have like what startups should do as their first action points when building their products, building their journey, starting their journey. So right now, from your experience, in this stage of building this foundation and extracting all the necessary information to actually have a really good product and consolidate their journey, I'm curious of how you see that these startups can be helped in order to overcome these challenges. And I'm curious from two perspectives, from the perspective of an investor and also from a perspective of an accelerator that helps the startups get it going.
Mm-hmm. From a perspective of an investor, you want them to, or they are not necessarily so different the perspectives. Especially from the perspective of the investor, you want them to learn and not burn all the cash they have. So and here comes the accelerator into the story by giving them how they can learn without burning all the cash or burning a lot of cash onto those constructive mistakes, if we could call them like this, in which they'll learn but not necessarily the startup will evolve, because usually into this validation you get a lot of no's and at one moment you get a big yes. So it's this search of happiness somehow which they are always they're into this so as an accelerator you try to build on this mindset, then with this mindset or having the mindset and some other things, they convince investors to invest into them, and then you continue to support them how to go farther into this process, being careful of where they are putting the resources, because you should accelerate in the moment where you have a lock-in. You have a it's a winner and it's a winning strategy, and then you put as much money into that. You could transfer this also to all the customer discovery, which is being discussed, all the experiments. There are so many ways how to test, which are not necessarily cash. You don't need money. That's why it's also all this theory around the fact that you could bootstrap and it's no problem that startups get formed into crisis moments, or it's a great opportunity to use the contractions in the market when you could factor that in. And because you're used of operating into that environment, you are creating pathways for your company. And because it's always a competition, because if somebody cannot do it from different ways, somebody who can do it has advantages. And we can also relate to these moments in which we are existing, like literally these weeks, where we are, from the perspective of the investor, we are advising startups to be careful and to preserve as much as possible their resources, but not doing only that. I don't think it's a winning situation just to close everything and wait things to pass, because while you are waiting things to pass, your competition or companies which are not even existing into your field will get into your field. So preserve, but be very attentive, pay a lot of attention to what it will happen and into the next months, when things will get back to life, because it's a cyclical aspect. Sometimes things don't work, but at one moment things will start come back to life, and things will start activating. Definitely not at the same speed at which they had before, but it will be a crescendo into a few months, especially when the lockdown will get out and all this, and then you'll need the ideas, the resources to put into your sprints. So what are those sprints? So do your reserves in order to sprint later. So kind of fight to live to fight another war, but do your strategy for the next attacks.